Swing the hammer, turn the screw, cut the saw and stick the glue, shave the shim.
Hello to all you do-it-yourselfers out there in do-it-yourself land, and welcome back to America's Funniest Handyman, where today I will be putting down my rubber chicken. Because today I am America's seriousest.
Try again, genius.
America's most serious handyman. You see, I've received quite a few letters and comments lately telling me that my videos are far too humorous and not serious enough, especially given this subject matter of home improvements and construction. So today, we will be dead serious. And just to show you how dead serious I am, I've gone ahead and hired my cousin Cleetus to give you the instruction today. Cousin Cleetus is one of the most boring people that I've ever met in my entire life. You wouldn't want to have a conversation with him, and if you have him over for dinner, he'll probably put you to sleep. Yes, he is just that boring. But he is a fantastic carpenter, and he will come along in just a moment and show you exactly how simple and easy it is to add edging to the edges of your plywood, thus covering up the dirty, poopy, caca layers that you don't want to see. You don't need any fancy tools. You don't need any jointers or planers. Just some sandpaper, a household iron or an edge-bending iron, some edge bending and some patience to make it look like you are a true professional. And once you learn how to do this simple process, which is as easy as ironing a pair of pants, I must tell you. Well, maybe ironing a pair of pants while a drill instructor breathes down your neck because he wants your creases to be right, but close enough. You will realize that this one simple process can open up a world of possibilities for you around the house when it comes to shelving and cabinetry. Ladies and gentlemen, my cousin Cleetus. Thank you. Cleetus. Hi there, my name's Cleetus. I'm Tommy's cousin. Right there, America's Funniest Handyman. I don't think he's funny neither, but he does teach some good skills. He taught me everything I know, but anyhow, I'm here to teach you how to put the edge on a piece of plywood that you just cut open. Hopefully you cut it straight. That's what I did. I cut these nice and straight on a table saw. You can use a table saw, or you can use a circular saw with a straight edge. I think Tommy's either... Tommy,
Yes, Cleetus?
you have a video on how to use a straight edge with a circular saw?
No, I have not made one yet.
Well, when are you gonna make one?
Perhaps in the springtime when the weather is nice, Cleetus.
All right, good. All right, he gonna make one real soon, but anyhow, in the meantime, you just want to have a nice straight edge. Now, there's a lot of fellers out there, real purist kind of cabinet makers. I said they're beyond cabinet makers. Some of them are what you might, I call them pen makers. They turn everything down to like a little bit of a micro inch. And you don't have to buy a bunch of fancy equipment to do this. You could buy a joiner planer and make this edge perfect, but the bottom line is these new adhesives, what with these space-age polymers and all, well, they're gonna stick to just about anything. And I'll just show you that you can even have a few imperfections on the edge of your plywood, and this stuff, if you just have patience with it. I think my cousin Tommy over there is always preaching about patience and what have you, but if you're fixing to put some of this stuff on, bring some patience with you and you'll be just fine. And the next thing you know, you look like a professional goddamn cabinet maker. Sorry for my language. Excuse my potty mouth. Anyhow, let's come on in here close. I'll show you the tools, and then we'll just get right to it.
Oh, this is very much fun, playing with the wood and the moldings and everything, yeah? Listen, please press on the like button and become a subscriber like all the popular people. Yeah.
All right, come on in here close, and I'll show you what you're gonna need for all this stuff here. This here's a brand new package I haven't opened yet. This is what it looks like when it's hanging on the shelf, swinging there. This one's called white birch. It's 7/8 of an inch, even though I'm using 3/4 inch plywood. Why do you reckon that is? You know why? It's because you want your edging to overlap both sides to make sure you don't miss nothing. And then you're going to take the edge off with an edge trimmer. This here edge trimmer was made exactly for what I'm using it for. It's made for trimming the edge banding. That's nice. And this thing wasn't that expensive. I think it only cost me about 10 bucks or something like that. Anyhow, you could use a file or a knife or a nice sharp chisel, man, and some sandpaper, man. There's a ton of things that you can use to trim it off. I'll show you that in just a couple minutes. But first, before we trim it off, you gotta learn how to iron it on. Before we do anything to it, I don't like to do my edge banding like this. I like to do it where my pieces are vertical. So what I did is I took a scrap piece of plywood and I went ahead and made a little kickstand for it. I'll show you how this works right now. So that's it. I just cut them 7/8 of an inch, and if I want to tighten them up, I just shove a little shim in there and it tightens it up. But now I can really give these a nice flat sanding, and then I'm ready to do my edge banding. It's really just that gosh darn easy. And I know this is supposed to be a serious episode, and just to prove to you that I am boring and not funny, I'm going to tell you a joke. And the reason I'm going to tell you this joke is because I didn't think it was funny at all. Somebody told me this joke because I got a real bad splinter in my finger and had to get surgery on it and what have you. Anyway, he told me this joke. He said, this feller, he calls up the doc and he says, hey doc, I got a splinter in my finger and it's really infected. And the doc says, well, is it the whole finger? And the feller says, no, it's the one next to it. Yeah, I don't get it neither, but maybe if you can explain it to me, we'll all figure out how it's funny. Until then, it's just another boring joke to add to this nice, boring DIY video. And now I'm just gonna heat up this iron and I'm gonna start working on my veneer. Now, whenever possible, you're gonna wanna add your edge banding before you trim your shelves. Now, this is a full 96 inches right here, but I'm gonna trim a couple inches off on both sides and make sure it's nice and square to fit where I want them to go. But if for some reason it's an afterthought, it's real easy to trim the edges of these things here, because this here is birch veneer. It's only about not even a 32nd of an inch thick, so you can just trim it with a pair of scissors. There's a whole bunch of things you can trim the edge with. You can trim it with electrical cutters that have a nice flat edge. You can trim it with a nice sharp pair of scissors. You can trim it with a knife. You can cut it long and then just sand it. I mean, the stuff is real easy to work with. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to measure this piece out. And that's all. I measured it a little bit longer than I needed. I'm going to iron that on. And I'm going to go ahead and measure out 2 of them, the exact same length. And then I'm going to show you how to iron them on, and then we're going to be done. It's that easy, folks. It's just that damn simple. Well, all right then, my iron's nice and hot, and I'm ready to put on my self-adhering veneer edge banding. Like I said before, it's got these space-age polymers on the back that when you heat them up, it just kind of grabs onto the other piece of plywood. And the nice thing is, you don't have to worry about getting perfect the first time, because if you got a little bit that pops up in the middle, you just come back and get it later. It's no big deal. So I'm just going to lay that at the edge. Really is a lot like ironing a pair of pants. You just kind of want to go back and forth and back and forth. And then what we're doing right here is we're doing a real long piece. So what I recommend is while you're doing a long piece like this, just get a couple feet done, maybe 2 or 3 feet. I just did a couple feet right there, and then I'm going to take this nice shiny part of my screwdriver and I'm just going to push this stuff down And this is what you call kind of burnishing it. So it's not really burnishing it, but I'm flattening out all that soft glue and rounding up and just pushing it over the edges. Can you see? I'm just kind of pushing it over the edges to make sure it's adhered all the way on the sides. And like I said, you don't need to panic if it ain't going. You can always come back and check later and make sure it's all down there for you. And then we're just gonna keep on going. That's it. Now, just remember when you're doing this, the iron is for making everything hot and flat. But you need something nice and smooth, like the side of a screwdriver, to push everything down while that glue is drying and still a little bit warm. You got to push it down. That's the key to the whole thing. And as long as you get that all nice and flat, you're good. Even if there's imperfections below it, it'll still come out nice. Ain't nothing to worry about. I'm gonna get a little crazy here, and on this one, I'm gonna start from the other end.
Maybe you can't tell a joke, but when your stuff gets broke, what do? You give Tommy a call, whether it's large or small. There's no project he can't see through. Let's laugh and learn from this handyman, with Kitty hold this by his side.
All right, now that we're all ironed on nice and flat and I've let everything cool down, we're gonna trim the edges off with these here edge trimmers, these here edge banding trimmers. But like I said before, you could use a sharp chisel or a knife or whatever you got handy. I will tell you this, I like this tool because not only does it trim it nice and flush, it leaves a slight little tiny bevel and it just makes it look like one piece of wood. But you still need a little sandpaper afterwards, and depending on whether you're going to stain it or paint it, it might not need to be perfect. So you just do whatever is best for your situation and with whatever tools you have handy in your garage. Well, I tell you what, these new space age polymers that they're putting inside these glues, look at that. That looks awful nice, and I ain't even put a piece of sandpaper on front. Well, I don't know if you can tell, but now this piece of plywood looks like one big solid piece of wood. Ain't that beautiful? I'm just gonna run a little bit of sandpaper on the edges to get rid of all the tiny little boogers. And I'm gonna tell you, man, once you learn how to do this, you're gonna become addicted to it. It makes cabinetry stuff just come out so beautiful, and it really is very simple and very easy, something that anybody can do in their garage with some of the most basic and simple tools. That's all. Anyway, we'll see you down the road, folks. As always, thanks for letting us bring just a little bit of humor. Well, no humor today, but a whole lot of experience onto your job site.
From this handyman, with Kitty hold this by his side, fixing stuff in a serious way, the not so serious guy.